Welcome to yet another session of the Smartly Outsmart Yourself series. I am Riikka Söderlund, your host today. I'm VP of Marketing and Communications here at smartly.io. And I'm joined today by Michelle Liu, the head of product at Viral Space. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
In today's episode, we will be looking at yet another trend that is impacting the world of advertisers. And this might just be my favorite one yet. We are looking into artificial intelligence. How can that actually help advertisers in the sphere of social advertising and beyond? How can you help your creative production and strategy with AI-driven insights? Michelle, you come from Viral Space where you specialize in this. So why don't we jump right in and let you tell us what you think has been the most impactful trends among social advertisers this year?
Absolutely. So when we talk about trends in social advertising, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't start with the elephant in the room, privacy changes. So this has really shaken up everything in the advertising world. And it means that brands can't rely on those long-standing marketing strategies anymore. Less attribution data and poor targeting means that advertisers need to optimize what they can control. And we like to think one of the big ones is their creative strategy. So we see a lot of brands trying new things, specifically the clients we work with that used to only do direct response bottom of funnel ads are exploring the top of funnel. They're exploring new platforms and they're shaking up their creative strategies and their messaging to match. So to help them make more meaningful creative and to adapt to these new strategies, we often see people invest in new technology that helps them understand what resonates with their audience. Creative insights, of course, are a big piece of this. So I really think, creative insights has been top of mind for a few years now. It's not just due to privacy changes. Advertisers really do know that creative is the most important part of the ad, and they want to be able to make data-driven decisions about it. But the level of investment we're seeing now due to this trend is unparalleled.
That's great to hear. We've definitely seen that shift happen at Smartly as well. Advertisers are looking more and more and more into how can they enhance their creative, since that seems to be the lever for performance, especially now with some of the new privacy changes, or I shouldn't say new, a year-old privacy changes that advertisers have been tackling. But it's not as easy as it may sound. I mean, yes, we need those insights to know how we actually can enhance our creative to improve our performance. It makes a lot of sense. But how do you actually get started? How do you help advertisers to get started with all this?
Yeah, absolutely. So in short, we help advertisers understand what factors in their creative are driving performance. And then we help them make better creative using that data. So there's a couple of steps, at least when Viral Space does creative insights. Step one is to tag features across a brand's ads. So a big reason that you can't analyze creative in the same way you analyze other data is there's just not an easy way to aggregate creative data at scale. That's why people rely on things like A/B testing or just looking at a handful of their top ads and guessing at what to do. But when you have creative tags, then you can analyze creative the way you analyze any other data. So that's our step one. And we really get custom here. So for a food brand, we'll look at maybe what type of food is there? Is it on a plate? What color is that plate? How much of that plate is showing? And then for a fashion brand, maybe we'll look at what product is showing. Is it on a model? How many models? What is the model doing? How is the model positioned? So it gets really custom and really specific to each brand. And we really think that this level of custom detail is key, so we can give advertisers insight on what they really care about. It goes way beyond just the basic objects and colors, which are a lot easier to tag, but not as interesting and not as powerful. So now that we have those tags in step one, step two is to connect those creative features to performance data. We like to say, as long as we have a creative and we have a KPI, we can connect the two. So we do that in our platform. We use a mix of methods to basically show brands which features out of the ones they've tagged are driving performance in their ads. So an example insight might be the next time you advertise your Black Friday sale to your audience A, you should frame that discount like this and style it like this and highlight these factors about your brand that really resonate with them. So step three, we have these insights, then we want to help brands apply them into their creative process. So we guide clients through using these insights in their briefs for new ads, in creative refreshes, in reporting, and in iteration. So basically, anytime you make a creative decision, we want to give you the data to be able to confidently make that decision rather than through the manual guess and check process of today. And with all of that, we've seen pretty great results. So an example case study here is over a year of work with one brand, we saw an average of over 40% lift when applying our insights across about a dozen tests.
Wow. So you knew I was going to ask that next. Like, what kind of results can you actually achieve with these types of iterations? That's amazing. Incredible results. And you mentioned some of the specific industries that you work with. Are there limitations to this? Like, what kind of advertisers do you work with?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say there are any particular limitations, but there are brands that we've worked with more historically, maybe just due to demand and them being very social advertising driven. So historically, it's been a lot of e-commerce brands, especially the two I mentioned earlier, fashion and food. But we have worked with people in entertainment, we've worked with agencies. We could do anything from gaming to music to whatever else. Again, as long as there's a creative and a KPI, we can connect the two. And I think a big reason why we're able to do this is that we're so custom. So sometimes people hear about creative insights, they assume that it'll be at the industry level, and we do that as well. So we provide cross-brand industry insights, we provide trends, and because we have that performance data, we're able to connect it to what is actually performing well and not just what is being used frequently. But what we really specialize in is going deep on what works for each and every brand. So one example of this is that we actually train a custom machine learning model for every brand we work with. And under the surface, that model predicts performance of ads given a set of features. But then to the client, they see given an ad and given a set of features tagged in that ad, we can basically perturb all of the different features, pretend to make changes without actually creating new ads, and then generate recommendations of what changes in the real world we think would drive the most performance. So it's very custom to each ad, it's very custom to each brand, and it's pretty powerful stuff.
Definitely sounds like it. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I would be an expert in artificial intelligence. So since we have the head of product from Vital Space here, I have to ask, tell us a little bit more about the technology. Like, let us peek behind the curtains. How does it actually work?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a question we get very commonly when we're first working with a client. We've even, done technical deep dives with their data science teams to show a bit about how it works. And it seems to be client approved, so I'll give you maybe a similar explanation to what I'd give them. I think important context here is we have two products, Plan and Optimize, where Plan is high-level planning insights, given the name. So basically, you take a group of ads, whether that's all of your ads for the last year or a specific audience or a specific campaign or whatever else, and then we tell you the features that drive performance. Meanwhile, Optimize is for iteration. So given an ad or a campaign or other group of ads, we'll give you recommendations of specific things to change, like move the bubble from left to right, change the banner color from red to blue. So I'll start with Plan. What's the methodology behind that? We have a mix of methodologies here, and the goal is to truly help you get to the why. The most basic method that we start with is we look at average performance of ads that have used a feature. So we will say, the red background has the best average CPA across the 100 ads that use that compared to the blue background or the green background or whatever else. So on average, red seems to do well. But that's not enough. We often get questions like, is it the red background or is it the fact that the word Black Friday is on top of the red background? So that was an actual case that came up in the early days, and we thought, okay, how do we answer that question? So a couple more complex things we do. One is a machine learning based method called Causal Scores, where we take a feature and we take all the features it's been used with and we try to perturb them and isolate the causal impact of a single feature. We also have associated features, which looks at a feature, all the features it's been used with, and how frequently they've been used together and how they perform when used together. So with those together, we can basically help you see, are there any features that might be skewing the performance of this individual feature, and which one is really driving performance. A few other things we do are things like statistical significance checks. So that helps you see, Is the performance difference, is the sample size large enough to actually be super, super confident in this? And there's a couple other things. So I think if you want to learn more, any of the listeners can reach out. Jumping into the second product. So this is based on that machine learning based prediction model that I mentioned just a moment ago, where under the surface there's predictions, and then above the surface, when we perturb the features of an ad, we can see, okay, when we pretended to change the banner from red to blue, the predicted performance went up by a lot. And so we're going to say, change your banner from red to blue and give that a shot. It's maybe kind of a way to A/B test without A/B testing, because again, we don't actually make those changes. We pretend to change the features in the back end, but it's really, really custom to each and every ad. It takes into account the existing features of the ad, the time it's running in, the audience it targets, and so much more. So the results speak for themselves, and that's just a bit of a peek behind the curtain.
I'm sure, as you can imagine, like every advertiser listening right now is visually kind of in their head going through their ads and trying to think of, well, is my bubble on the left or the right? Is the background blue or red in these campaigns that I know are performing? I just don't know why they're performing. That's incredible. You speak about that the insights are very bespoke and very custom, but are there any interesting insights that you see working across the board, something that we could learn from right away?
Sure. So I can maybe give a free little teaser here, but again, we specialize in insights custom to brands. But let's see. So some things that we've learned across the broader Facebook ecosystem. One is maybe for fashion brands. We find that watches and jewelry do well. So all those little accessories really make an ad perform better, even if that's not the actual product being sold. There's also some maybe random like colors that tend to pop out, like yellow banners we saw a couple months ago were doing really well for fashion brands. Looking more generally, we saw that maybe in summer, gym equipment does really well. So, that's the time people think about fitness, and no matter the industry, no matter the season, home decor does well. So having that furniture in the background, having it in an indoor environment. Going beyond what's showing up in the actual image or video, I think a lot of people care about the text, the copy, the messaging. So we saw that when you're framing a discount, highlighting the value of the product in dollars rather than percents tends to do better in general. But it's not always for every brand. Again, this is just aggregated data. There's certainly exceptions, and we would want to do a more custom look for each and every brand. But we would, I guess, recommend highlighting the full value of the product in contrast to a markdown, especially if it's a larger markdown. So take this all with a grain of salt. I think if you're selling a product that's $500, that might be different than if you're selling a product that's $5, and if your discounts are 75% versus 20%. But these are things that we've just generally seen as trends based on performance data. And last thing I'll say is we actually do have some free general insights available on our website. If you go to viralspace.ai and click resources, there's just some general trends of what we see working on organic social media and a highlight of some ads that tend to highlight some of those topics. So take a look there or reach out to me if you'd want to learn more.
That's amazing. I will definitely be peeking into those resources. And you've definitely given us a lot of ideas of what it could be that we might want to test in our ads to make them perform even better. We, of course, at Smartly have had the pleasure to dive in deeper into the technology and everything that you're doing already for a while now. VitalSpace used to be an independent startup, and you joined the Smartly family about a year ago. What has your journey been like?
Yeah, it has been amazing, and we're very grateful to be part of the Smartly family. I think most people listening probably know this, but Smartly knows the social advertising space like no other. We came in a little bit as newcomers with more of the tech background, and since joining the Smartly team, we've just learned so much about how marketers think and gotten plugged into all these amazing resources. So beyond our own learning, it's been, of course, great for our clients. I think one thing that we really are working towards is building a one-stop shop for social advertising. So Smartly has great creative automation tools. They have dynamic templates, and then they have, of course, the bread and butter of the campaign and optimization, media buying optimization tools. And so viral space alone, we have always stopped at creative insights. We tell you, here's what works, and now go ahead and apply that off the platform. And we have our white glove service to guide you through how to apply it, but we don't do that on the platform today. But now for our customers that have both viral space and Smartly, we can build more of that seamless creative process with the insights embedded throughout. So I'm really excited about all the possibilities of integration, and of course also with the addition of AdLib now as well. But yeah, basically it's been amazing. We're very grateful to be here, and I think we're doing things that would absolutely not be possible if we were just standalone.
I love that. So we've, of course, I know we've only kind of scratched the surface of everything that you do at Viral Space. Before we close off today, I have to ask if there's anything else you wanted to highlight, anything that we didn't touch upon yet.
Yeah, let's see. I will say that creative insights, a lot of people know about it now. It's started to become more of a trend, but they are still pretty new. We only got into the space a couple of years ago, and at the time it was basically unheard of. We, talked to some early clients that were maybe trying to build something like this internally, but for a lot of people, we had to convince them of, why creative insights matters and how to use it. So we saw people maybe relying on complex naming conventions, or they were tagging in the ad name all of the different creative features. It starts to get pretty crazy when you try to get beyond just a couple. And then we, of course, saw people doing the endless guess and check process of, okay, I think it was this black banner that drove performance, like let's A/B test it and see if that's true. So I think the space is still very new, basically. Now that it's more established, we're still seeing that even though people believe in the value of creative insights, it's a big shift to actually be able to adopt it. So it's not necessarily plug and play. Once you have the insight, you have to redesign your process internally to make it possible to regularly apply those insights and get into more business as usual. But we really think the effort is worth it. Again, amazing results, and being able to make those decisions with data and with confidence rather than to guess and check is worth it. But you get to see the performance lifts now, and you get to future-proof your creative. But because it's such a big shift, we need to be a strategic partner to our clients and provide them with a ton of white glove service to help them make those process shifts. So what we do now is we have our customer success managers identify relevant insights for our clients, help fit them into the process, and not just be there for support and for teaching how to use the platform, but to truly become creative partners. I think that's so important at this stage of the process, and part of why we are so hands-on and so white glove with our clients. So I think aside from that, if people were to take anything away from this conversation, I would say it's this. Data-driven creative insights really are the future, and Viral Space and Smartly are at the forefront of building this AI-driven insights methodology and one-stop shop to make it happen. And I'd love to work with you, love to work with anyone listening to show you the power of these insights.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. That was a fascinating dive into the world of AI-driven insights, and yet another great trend that we get to introduce here at the Outsmart Yourself series. That's all the time we have for today. Please stay tuned for our next episode, where we will be focusing on all things TikTok. You can register at smartly.io/outsmart, or just find the link in the calendar invite for this episode. Thank you all for joining me, and we will meet again next time.